I have a special challenge this week. Last Sunday after Mass, one of our 12-year-olds told me that she remembered a story that I'd told in a homily a year ago, 18 months ago. She recounted it quite well. And then she said, "But I don't really remember what you said today. Next week you should tell a story." And she might not be wrong. I do a lot of philosophizing. And so in looking at today's gospel about how we're called to build communion, how we're called to live with one another, what charity demands when we have disagreements, like kind of looking at all of that, I remembered a very good story. I hope Donnie Rose Johnson doesn't mind too much that I'm telling it. I had been pastor in Gonzales for a very short period of time, probably just a month or so. And I would like to say it's because she was very much missing Father Frank Macias, who was a great pastor in Gonzales and Wilder, well beloved by the people and well beloved by Donnie Rose Johnson. And she was our next door neighbor. She lived right across the street. And she came storming into my office, didn't knock or anything, just came in. And I'm like, "Donnie Rose, would you like to sit down?" Right? And she said, "Sometimes I wonder whether you were sent here by God or by Satan." And to which, thankfully, I was on my toes that morning. I'd had my coffee, so I responded, "Well, Donnie Rose, I'm not sure. The letter I got was from Archbishop Flores." But we sat down and we talked because she was hurt and she was struggling with our relationship. And that creates problems in the church community. Problems that I didn't want and problems that she didn't want. And I'm so grateful that rather than going with her coffee circle, rather than going with her bunco friends to tell them what a horrible priest they had in the parish, she came and she told me to my face. And it gave us a chance to talk through what some of the concerns were, the particular way that Father Frank involved her in the mission and ministry of the church, and helped her be excited about that mission, things that I wasn't doing, and some of her smaller concerns that were coincidental rather than personal. We had to do the second collection for the Archbishop's appeal or something, and so she thought I was only worried about money, or I don't know, things that over time she learned weren't true. And by the time I left Gonzales 2 years later, I know I hadn't replaced Father Frank Macias. I never tried to do that, but I know that Donnie Rose and I got along very well. But I'll give her props for coming and discussing with me her concern. And she didn't have to say that I was sent there by the devil, but I get it. And we were able to make great progress together with an honest conversation. And Jesus suggests that we start there. And we don't. We don't like confrontation. We don't like going and telling somebody specifically what it is that they're doing that's frustrating me. And yet, for some reason, we have no problem telling our hairdresser or our golfing buddies or anybody else we see all of the things that we're frustrated about. And all we do is grow the frustrations. We never give them a chance to be resolved. Jesus also says that if that conversation doesn't work, then before you go and escalating it to this moment of separation, you have to still find other ways to try to build communion, to try to bring us back together. And so Jesus will say, bring along a friend. Bring along somebody who can help make your case, somebody who can help organize this concern so that maybe there's still room for reconciliation. And then he says, if not, take it to the whole church community. And we don't have a great tribunal set up for this, but there are ways that together as a church, we can work to resolve some of our angers and our frustrations. But instead we just leave. Instead we just do our own thing. Instead we just declare ourselves to be right on Instagram. We all have our ways of avoiding the process, the hard work of communion, and setting off independently to either be upset with one another or to separate ourselves from the body. In Jesus's recommendations for how love and communion might reign in our lives, I love how he ends. He says, and if they won't listen even to the community, then treat them as you would the pagans. Or I'm just like, wait, how did Jesus treat the pagans? With love and dignity and charity and a welcoming outreach, right? So even when we can't reestablish communion, then we still hold an open heart for the hope that one day unity may be restored. This is also challenging, right? It's not challenging at the level of last week's gospel. Although it's no fun to be sitting minding your own business in your office and have somebody storm in and say that you were sent to their town by Satan himself, right? But it's challenging from the perspective of overcoming my selfishness that just wants to sit in my self-pity, that just wants to sit in my self-righteousness, and force me into a dialogue with another who might be right, who might have something to teach me, who might, even if they're not completely right, together we might be able to find what is true and what is best. We might be able to find the love that builds, unites, maintains our community, our church.